Hi, I'm Charlotte and this is Type Mama Tries to Read. I'm coming to you today with a script, which is always bad news. I've not been able to articulate my ideas properly. I tried to film a video yesterday, kind of loosely organised around some notes that I'd made, and it just wasn't good enough. And this is a really crucial time for anybody with a platform to say things intelligently and in the most useful way possible. So I'm not going to get it right, but I really need to try to get this right, which is why I'm invoking the power of the script. I was going to start this video off by just welcoming you into my library, which I'm not actually in, so it kind of sounds like a weird thing to do. But if you came into my living room and had a little look around, what you might struggle to do is to pin down anything that I'm particularly interested in. And that is because I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm naturally a curious person, but I think a bigger part that was played in the making of my bookshelves is that I worked in a bookshop for 10 years. And so I was kind of being forcibly put in sections that I didn't necessarily want to visit as a customer, but once I was picking up those books, looking at those books, I became interested. I just think it just truly diversified my reading just from sheer exposure, you know. So anyway, I've got a lot of books on things, and if you went to the section, because obviously I've got it all in sections, I'm a bookseller, if you went to the section that is kind of my sociology, is probably what it would be under in the bookshop, but social justice issues is what I would call it, you will see a lot of books on a lot of things, but you'll also see a fairly sizable shelf of books on race. And you might think to yourself, wow, Charlotte has done her work and she has read stuff on race. What you also would see if you look to the right is that my nature section has an awful lot of books on bees. And I haven't read those books on bees. I don't actually know anything about bees that a 4-year-old doesn't already know about bees. So I'm kind of trying to illustrate to you the way in which my purchasing habits might indicate a level of diversity that my reading habits don't necessarily fall in line with. And I'm not going to be disingenuous. I do read books on race. You know, if you've watched my channel, you will just know that. And one of the things that a subscriber to my channel got in contact with me over after my last video, which I filmed very much on the hop, sitting on the floor of my bedroom, was that she felt that I had I'd sold myself short on what I do read, and that in that way I'd kind of created this I'm so sorry, feel sorry for me because I'm so sorry, and recentered the debate around me in my sorrowfulness over not doing enough. And God, you know, it hit me in the face, and I was like, wow, yes, that's exactly what I did. And I've seen other videos doing it, and I know that there's the argument that it comes from a good place, but again, it's just refocusing the narrative upon white people and how sorry they are. So I do read, in a sense, broadly. I maybe don't read as much content from black writers as I do from Native American writers, for example. Purely because, you know, when I was at university, that was the thing I specialised in. And when I did my PhD, it was 50% on Native American writers and 50% on Welsh writers. And yes, I will put money in the douchebag jar for mentioning my PhD, but it's an undeniable fact that I do have shelves of Native American writers, and I have read them and loved them. So I'm not going to sort of sell myself short in that respect, but I kind of want to get across to you the way in which I'm analysing the way that I engage with black writing, and it's not good enough. And there's a couple of ways in which it's not good enough. Firstly, nearly all of the books I've bought in the last 2 or 3 years since I've been on BookTube, and I've been on BookTube as a creator for the same amount of time that I've been a subscriber, because I joined this community at the same time as having watched it, because I'm that arrogant that I thought I could make videos based on virtually no experience of what was out there. I'd get nearly all of my recommends from white booktubers. Okay, so when I'm buying a book on black trans experience, I'm getting that recommend from a cisgender white booktuber most of the time, if not all of the time. And that is problematic. I don't think I need to go into why that's problematic, and I don't want to make this video 3 hours long so no one watches it. So we'll be touching on these topics for the duration of my time on BookTube, but I'm just going to lay the ground now. The second problem is that the way that we're considering these books diverse, and the way that I'm saying we is indicative of that. I'm assuming my audience is like me. You know, I'm considering the diversity of the books that I'm reading in direct correlation to me as the norm. I'm setting the standard. I'm the yardstick. I'm white. I'm cisgender. I'm straight. And so other writing that is not like that is diverse. And I'm totting up at the end of the year in my stats, diligently totting up how many books have engaged with or been written by authors of colour or authors from the LGBTQIA plus community. And what am I even doing? Like, what is that? I've read 20% people of colour this year. Clap, you know, give me a clap, pat me on the back. I don't even know anymore, and I know that stats can be useful. They've highlighted so many disparities in the way that I read. For example, the fact that I read nearly exclusively female fiction, but non-fiction is nearly always exclusively male when I'm reading it. So interesting. So there's a place for them, and I'm not necessarily saying I have an answer to many of the things that I'm posing today, but it's not working. So I think we need to start, and again, I'm using the word we, white people. That's who I'm talking to. White people, white booktubers, white subscribers, white readers. We need to pick apart what we are doing and why we're doing it. And, you know, there's never anything more dangerous than someone who already thinks that they're super woke, you know? It shuts your mind off as much as any bigot. And I just feel that for my part, this is the perfect chance to thank the people that have commented, messaged me. I'm really grateful to those people for getting in touch with me and saying where they think I've gone wrong. And in every instance, they were right. So, you know, and I've heard people saying, well, what can we do? And when I say people, I mean white people. I've heard white people saying, what can we do? We're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. Well, yeah, but nothing's changed. Like, the experience of a black person hasn't changed. What we're doing isn't enough. It's not right. What white people are doing is not enough. It's not right. So we as white people need to ask ourselves those questions, and we need to be open to the criticism that we're facing right now. And I want to share with you that I feel like the conversations that I've had with other white booktubers have been really useful in this regard, and that there's a lot of ears open. Which I'm not saying so that, again, we can get patted on the back, but I just want to reassure anybody who's watching that those conversations are going on behind closed doors. Nothing has changed. And with relation to BookTube, the Black BookTube community is angry. And why wouldn't they be? For years, Black BookTubers have been saying that they're undersubscribed, that they don't have any engagement, either with white booktubers or white viewers, that they are rolled out in really insensitive tags by white booktubers, you know, that, you know, just totally inappropriate engagement when it is done, that publishers aren't sending them proofs, and there's a lack of own voices reviews. Yeah, none of this is new. This didn't happen this week. It's just that this week we've all started to care. And it must be incredibly difficult to believe that anybody is caring for any other reason, that it is just the thing to do. I can't explain that. I don't think I've got the intelligence and sensitivity to explain that. But I'm asking the question why. And I'm asking the question, how do we go forward? I've watched a lot of Black BookTube, and in the last week, I want to point out, there's a couple of great videos that I'm going to recommend. I'm not going to overwhelm my recommends, because it just seems completely pointless for me to just tag, to just sort of signpost like 30 channels, which I haven't watched, because I've not had time to watch 30 channels. It's just not gonna, it wouldn't make any sense to do that. I'm just gonna list maybe 3 videos that particularly fit into the things that I'm going to be saying. And again, a lot of the things that I'm saying are derivatives of those videos. These are not Charlotte being super clever and sensitive. This is Charlotte repeating what other people have said and have put a lot harder work into, and I'm just trying to articulate the way I have understood those words. So I watched a great and emotional and powerful video by Monte from It's Monte Price, who is a new to me booktuber. And he was saying that there have been flurries in the past of people subscribing to his channel, following him on Twitter, pretty much in conjunction with the murder of black people, which is just horrendous. And, you know, he raises the question, you know, what am I supposed to make of that? Am I supposed to be pleased that people are subscribing to my booktube channel because a black man was murdered? I don't even know how you would begin to unpack that as a black person. And yeah, I'm just going to leave that there, because if you go and watch his video, you will see what he's got to say about that and how frustrated he is and upset and heartbroken, and I can completely understand those things. So he also says that in the past, when this has happened, the subscribers list has gone up, but the engagement has remained the same. And that is just, you know, that speaks volumes. You know, we hear about something happening. Maybe and again, I'm saying we again, maybe white people hear about something bad happening in a certain minority community. Maybe there's been a flurry of interest in the trans community usually because of a horrific event that, you know, has impacted upon that community. And then we have usually a cisgender white booktuber say there's a great channel. I mean, this is pretty much what I'm doing now, where this person who is transgender has discussed this issue, and we all go and click subscribe because we're good people, and then we never watch a video of theirs ever again. That is what is happening. It's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to me that that's happening, because I've done it. I've subscribed to booktubers that I have never gone back and watched. Again, heartbreakingly, I watched an amazing response video by Jessie from Bowties and Books. One of the things that they bring up is the fact that they've been working really, really hard to get to 10,000 followers, and that in the last week that has happened. And at the last check, when I looked on their YouTube last night, it had gone up by thousands in a couple of days to well over 13. How is Jessie meant to celebrate that? Firstly, it's come from a horrendous act of violence. Secondly, there's been, and probably won't be, any engagement from the subscribers that have joined. So I urge you, if you are going to subscribe, to also engage, and also accept that you're going to get the engagement wrong. I have already been, you know, put right on the way I've engaged, and I've watched other people engage in a way that hasn't been helpful. And I really hope you're sticking with this, and that you're not just turning off because you've seen that the first 5 minutes were about an issue that you think you already know loads about. If you're a white person, please, I hope you stuck around. It'd be interesting to look at my video stats after this and see how many people turned off in the first couple of minutes. The other thing that I'm doing, which is just a complete mockery to the idea that I'm reading diversely, is that I'm not reading books about black experience that isn't involved with trauma. And I literally tried to think, I spent so long trying to think of a book that I own by a black author that isn't about the trauma of black experience. I just couldn't think of one. Now, I know what you might say in response to that. Well, you know, we live in a racist world, so why wouldn't there be mention of those things? But we're talking massive kind of, it takes over the whole plot, and in some cases obviously it needs to, but where are the writers on my shelves that are black, that are writing, I mean, I don't read sci-fi or crime, but let's say I did, I bet any money that they wouldn't be on there anyway. You know, we've got sci-fi writers, crime writers, romance writers, family sagas, in the non-fiction area. So I read a lot of non-fiction. Where are the black writers that are writing science books, that are writing philosophy books, that are writing nature books? I think the Wainwright Prize has just put its first shortlist nominee on there that's a person of colour, like the first one. But, you know, times are changing, but pretty slowly, and they're never going to change if we don't buy those books. And again, by we, I mean white people. I keep doing it. I've got to stop. Even just in that respect, I'm not enjoying black writing the way that I could be. And there's a great, and this is another thing I can link into, a great video I watched on the channel Written in Melanin, another new to me channel, and it's a discussion between two authors, Chelsea Lockhart and I think LaKase Casino, yeah. Their writing doesn't fall into the trauma narrative, and so they've had problems finding publishers, finding readership for those books. Yeah, it's a great discussion. It's about an hour long, but it's really good all the way through, and I thoroughly recommend it. So that's the last video I'll probably link in this video. So you've got 3. That's not a lot. It'll take about 2 hours of your time, I think, to watch all 3 of them. You could, you know, I know it's hard to find the time to watch YouTube. I am a YouTuber that doesn't actually watch a lot of YouTube because of family commitments and whatnot. But you can carve the time out if you need to. So, in conclusion, I'm going to reiterate the question I've asked over and over again in the videos and tweets and essays that I've been reading in the past week. How long are white content makers and white audiences going to dedicate their time to Black Lives Matter and beyond that to other disenfranchised groups? It's been just 1 week. Just 1 week of engagement, and I'm already hearing whispers of, but BookTube is my safe space. I go to BookTube for escapism. And it's like, you know, on one level I get that. I created this channel because I have anxiety, emetophobia and germ phobia, all a wonderful combination when you're going through a pandemic. So I get that. But there is a thing called Netflix, which has tons of pre-pandemic stuff on it that you can, you know, go nuts with. At the minute something has got to change, normal service cannot resume. You know, it just can't. And if that's not up your street, then you just unsubscribe. It made me think actually about the way that we can remove ourselves as white audiences from this kind of thing. You know, that argument of, well, you know, it is my safe space. And Monte addresses this in his video. Lucky you for having a safe space, because when you're in a situation where you're constantly being discriminated against or you're constantly in fear, you can't remove yourself from that. You can't just put down the book and then that's it for you. And there's a great poem by... It's been in my head all week and I couldn't quite remember who it was by, but it's by Wendy Rose, who is a Native American of Hopi and Miwok descent, I believe. Yeah, she has tribal affiliations with Hopi and Miwok, and she's great. This Bone Dance by Wendy Rose is a really awesome collection. And this poem is actually, it's called For the White Poets Who Would Be Indian. So it's slightly removed from our conversation, but the line at the end I think applies to the conversation we're having now. You think of us only when your voice wants for roots, when you have sat back on your heels and become primitive. You finish your poem and go back. And I feel that so powerfully. If you're white, I just urge you to intentionally change the way you view what you're reading, to intentionally, not just as a knee-jerk reaction, but intentionally subscribe to Black content on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, and to intentionally engage. If you've enjoyed this video and you think that I've said some things that make sense to you, I really don't want, you know, clapped hands in the comments. I appreciate your support. And I am only here because of your support, but I really don't need that, and I would like you to direct that energy elsewhere. If you have any criticisms of what I've said, and I'm pretty much exclusively directing that to a Black audience, then the complete opposite applies, and just write it in the comments. You don't have to go privately if you don't want to. This is a public forum that I've put this out in, and it's a public forum that I should be criticised for it in as well. Okay, I think I'm done. If I'm tired, imagine how other people feel, is what I keep thinking. I sincerely hope you're all well, and that you're taking care of yourselves and taking some time out, whoever you may be, because this is a difficult time. It is a pandemic. It's a time of civil unrest, and we need to use that energy. So make sure you're drinking plenty of water, eating good food, getting a bit of exercise if you can, and reading. See you later, bye.